Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Health Minister defends position on bacterial outbreak at Victoria Jubilee Hospital. Tense atmosphere at Oberlin High School following chaotic scenes on Wednesday. And later in sports, Jamaica Table Tennis Association President open to second term in office. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Javon Keys. Here are the details. As more information about the death of several babies at the Victoria Jubilee Hospital in Kingston comes to light, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says Prime Minister Andrew Holness was informed of the issue yesterday. A bacterial outbreak at the facility led to the death of 12 babies. Now, while the Cabinet has not yet been briefed on the matter, Dr. Tufton insists that the ministry was not hiding information, but was awaiting an independent review from the Pan American Health Organization PAHO on the matter before he went public. Now, additionally, Dr. Tufton says he delayed informing the public about the outbreak because the situation was improving and was no longer at a crisis level.
A decision on my part that we were awaiting the PAHO report on the situation. Given that the situation was improving after the July month, I thought that the PAHO report would add more substance in terms of what exactly the situation is and determine a path to deal with the situation going forward.
Now, Dr. Tufton was asked if the Prime Minister still has confidence in his leadership. Dr. Tufton was speaking with Sanjay
You're
Lewis.
asking the wrong person.
Well, you had discussions with him yesterday. I know you were not going to tell us what you would have discussed, but coming from that discussion, do you still enjoy his confidence?
The Prime Minister is always concerned about issues, and I can only imagine each day he gets up, he has to address a myriad of issues, and where lives are involved, I can imagine the burden that he bears. As I said, he bears the ultimate burden. And I think he's well within his right to make decisions based on all matters, all variables considered. I can't comment beyond that. I'll just continue to do my work.
Now, Dr. Tufton was speaking with Sanjay Lewis, host of the Morning Agenda on Power 106 FM. Now, to some other news, a team from the Education Ministry held meetings today with students and staff of Oberlin High School in St. Andrew following yesterday's bizarre incident during general devotions with students fainting. O'Shane Masters reports.
There were chaotic scenes at Oberlin High Wednesday morning as scores of students became disoriented and fainted. It was reported that this happened when a teacher was given the opportunity to share a word and prayed for the students. Education Minister Favour Williams says the team dispatched by the minister Thursday morning will be trying to bring calm to the institution.
We have our education officer or regional director on their way there, if not already there this morning, to speak with students, to hear from students, to reassure the student population as well as the teaching population that the school will operate and we will operate in a safe manner for our students.
In the meantime, the Education Ministry has directed school leaders to develop protocols for devotions as investigations into Wednesday's incident continue. Mrs. Williams says while the ministry is supportive of religious practices in schools, school leaders should be mindful of the content that is delivered to students.
These are students in our care. We act in their parents' stead as soon as their parents drop them off on the school compound, and that's by law. So we have to be extremely, extremely careful about what it is that they are exposed to. We have to ensure that their physical body is not harmed, is not overly involved. You don't have ceremonies where they have to prostrate on the ground or anything like that. Those are some of the things I am thinking about and we are discussing when we talk about protocols for devotion.
Mrs. Williams, who was speaking on the Morning Agenda on Power 106, said there is no protocol from the ministry to guide schools on religious events. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, our news team sought to follow up on this incident, and this morning they were barred from entering the premises. Kelisha Williams reports.
So we've been here for a few minutes now, and this is as far as our news team could go. The environment is just pretty tense. It's quiet. It's quite a contrast to what we saw here yesterday morning. I spoke with the secretary of the institution just outside this gate at the administrative building, and she told me that no one is available to speak to us on camera. I understand a team from the ministry is here and they're meeting with the principal, vice principal, and other stakeholders. I went as far as asking what the turnout was like this morning, and I was simply told it was not normal. Reporting from the Oberlin High School, I'm Kelisha Williams for TVJ News.
Thanks, Kelisha. Of course, we'll continue tracking that story. Still on news in education, the ministry has sought to provide an explanation on the lack of adequate textbooks for secondary schools across the island. Acting Chief Education Officer Dr. Casson Troop revealed that aside from shipping delays, some principals did not submit the books needed in time for them to be purchased for the reopening of schools. Jamaica Maitland has that story.
It's now 2 months since students have returned for face-to-face classes, and yet many high schoolers do not have access to their rental books. Several school administrators have reported that textbooks are not available to students because they have not been distributed by the Ministry of Education. But according to Acting Education Officer Dr. Casson Troop, the delay is partly due to shipping. The other, the lack of timely responses from principals about the books needed.
Not that we're blaming our principals at this time, but we understand the difficulties of the time. So yes, the responses were not timely. That delayed the decisions that we could make in time for us to go into contract with our suppliers. Added to that, the challenges of moving materials, the shipment and all of that into the country.
Dr. Troop did not give a timeline on when the rental books would arrive or when schools would receive their orders. However, she said the ministry paid for just over 66,000 licenses for e-books, so certain students can have access to their textbooks using a tablet. But the acting education officer revealed that the report showing the number of students who've actually downloaded their textbooks is cause for concern.
We have seen that books have not been accessed by our students, and we have called our principals, we have spoken to them about that, and we have given them oversight, access to the platform so that they too can be aware of what's happening. Out of that, we have decided to go into the schools. I've asked my technical team, we are going to look at those schools that are not activating, and we are going in. We are going to set up the sessions ourselves to put the students in the labs and to get them to download their textbooks.
The Ministry of Education says despite the challenges, it's urging school administrators to use alternate teaching practices to ensure that students still receive quality education while they work to procure the physical books.
Whilst we have challenges on this side, let us work together for the benefit of our students. Let's use what we have. We have indicated to you that class sets are available, and whilst you may not be able to give every child a material now, we should strategize internally to make sure that there's a class set ready to move to a class that students have access to the material as you execute your lessons.
Jamaica Maitland, TVJ News.
The St. James Municipal Corporation seems divided about a business operator who has set up shop on lands belonging to the local authority. Councillors raised the issue as the operator has another land case with the authority before the courts. Kirkwright reports.
The escalating land dispute is about this restaurant operating in the Mount Salem area of St. James. The land, which belongs to the municipal corporation, is being managed by the Mount Salem Benevolent Society CDC, housing a homework center for students. However, a restaurant operator has set up an operation on the property without the corporation's approval. Counsel for the Montego Bay North East Division, Charles Sinclair, notes that this is not the first land issue with the proprietor. A court order had stopped the operation previously, which was located in front of the Cornwall Regional Hospital.
The person who the council has an issue with in court has ceased the operation to comply with the injunction, but has gone and taken over another council's property.
However, when TVJ News contacted the restaurant operator, he insists he was given permission to use the property by the councillor for the Mount Salem division, Kerry Thomas.
Kerry Thomas is a good man, so, he know the situation well, and he know that a lot of persons who want a hot breakfast, hot lunch, hot meal, you understand, who come into the hospital. So he said just set up, service your customers until you're ready to move.
The position which was taken and carried forward by the CDC was that this restaurant or this facility that operates here employ over 50 people throughout the community, and it provides a service at that point in time. And in the request, they asked for a temporary position in order to use the yard.
However, there's one fundamental problem.
We know that the CDC does not have the authority to endorse any alternative use of the property without the consent of the municipal corporation. And so we deem that action to be unauthorized, and hence the municipal corporation will take the appropriate action.
The restaurant operates from a tent on the premises, while operation at the location is illegal. Mr. Little believes the efforts to remove him are politically motivated. He says the operations will move to a legal and permanent location by December. Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
For more local stories, we now head to the Business Minute. Here's O'Shane Masters.
In the world of business, ice cream company Caribbean Cream raked in less profit in its second quarter ended August. Profit post-tax was slightly changed at $7.1 million. For the corresponding period last year, profit was $83,000 more at $7.2 million. Revenues for the company, however, improved by $159 million. Total earnings were recorded at $654 million. For the second quarter last year, the company made $486 million. The company says the cost of raw materials has increased, forcing it to make adjustments to its prices. In international business, Meta, the parent company of Facebook, is looking to cut costs as its revenue declines for another quarter. For the 3 months ending in September, Meta reported revenue of $27.7 billion. Its net income was nearly $4.4 billion. That's down 52% from the same period in the previous year. It's also well below analysts' projections. Meta posted its first revenue decline during the June quarter. The company's core online advertising business is being hit by the economic downturn. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm O'Shane Masters.
And from business, we head to our top regional and international stories.
In the region, 3 people, including 2 Trinidad and Tobago nationals, have been charged with conspiracy to smuggle goods, including firearms and firearm components from the United States to Trinidad. U.S. Attorney Roger B. Hanberg said U.S. national Edward Solomon King III, 31, as well as Trinidadians Tevin O'Brien Oliver, 29, and Jamil K. Phillip, 30, each faces a maximum penalty of 5 years in federal prison if convicted of the charges. They have been described as members of a Caribbean arms trafficking ring. On the international scene, the German government is paving the way for the legislation of recreational cannabis for adults. The legislation would allow adults to possess up to 30 grams of ganja. It would also allow limited amounts of cannabis to be grown and sold to adults in licensed specialist shops. But Germany's health minister warns that many hurdles still remain. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm O'Shane Masters.
And that's it for Midday News Package. Join us at 7 p.m. for primetime news. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, I'm Javon Keys. Good afternoon.